let's just go live with it.
I did.
Better to be live and kicking than talking about it, right?
Yeah, exactly. If we sound like robots, then so be it.
We'll just tell people that we did it all with AI and that we're really clever thinkers here, and
Yes, of course.
we've never even met each other. It's all AI.
What's up, everybody? We're back again for We're Not on.
Yeah.
And I've talked about this topic quite a bit. I don't think anybody's ever liked CRMs. I don't think nobody I've ever talked to. Like if you ask people, what worth I experience, you like an array, a spectrum of answers where on like one end they're like, I hate it, and then on the other end they're like, I can't fucking stand it. Like
Yeah.
I love Salesforce. I think there's some people that prefer Salesforce over some of the alternatives, but it's kind of like, the lesser of evils. So we're going to talk about, do we actually even still need CRM?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. Like, I'm sure, like, if you go back to like caveman days when like the caveman had to fill in the CRM for selling wheels and fire, like he probably didn't like it either, but it was a necessary evil there. When I was early in my career, we had a really good homegrown one at my first like real software job. It was like classic like early 1990s blue screen. I'm kind of dating myself as like the crotchety old man, and it was literally Rob. It was just like names and phone numbers. Like there was just a database of that. There was no products that you put in there. There was like a full on different order entering system. And then we kind of graduated from blue screen into like stuff like Goldmine, which probably until about the year 2000 was like the best CRM tool out there. It was like more of like a personalized Rolodex. It was great for keeping track of like what's going on with your clients and like how do I get a hold of them. And then Salesforce came out and it was like everybody all of a sudden had an opinion for like what kind of data do you want to put into it. And
Yeah.
next thing you know, it's like the product marketing team is like, well, did they ask about the question blue? And we've got to have a Salesforce field about like, did they ask for blue or not? And then you start like I learned recently, like you can only have 500 fields in Salesforce.
Yeah. Oh, we run into that
And
all. Like we'll
do you
do
really?
like it's not even that many, like 20 or so default fields on the opportunity aspect, and about the same on like account and contact. Use all the time with like customers already at their max number of custom fields, and so it's, I mean, like it's a problem like we solve for, because I mean they can still track that data in our system and just not sync it back to the CRM. But then if you want to use this data in your CRM, which I guess like kind of like I'm showing my hand a little bit here, I do think that CRMs are needed, but just not how they're. But if you
Yeah.
trigger like campaigns in Marketo or something like that, right? Like you can't do that because you're out of custom fields, which is pretty crazy.
I had no idea that that was even like a thing until my last company. We had bumped into, we've got too many customized Salesforce fields, and every once a quarter we had to go through and
Yeah.
delete a bunch of them. That
Well,
just seems like a nightmare.
they have no idea like the shit that's going to break down the line, right? Like you
Right.
go field, then all of a sudden this other process is broken that is completely seemingly unrelated, but through this like spaghetti code that's been built up over since the year 2000, since it's been implemented, there's just stuff that's becomes a very fragile. So,
Well, yeah, and it becomes this like place where good data goes to die. Like I mean, it's
yeah,
amazing how many CRM instances are out there that should have just been like a simple, hey, we're going to buy this tool in order to help salespeople get deals done, and it's just become this like
yeah.
hodgepodge of collection of data, and 90% of those 500 fields aren't even filled in.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think its intent was ever to help salespeople get deals done, because I don't salespeople don't use it. They don't. I mean, like, back to cool. I mean, like, I've seen salespeople use spreadsheets and like notes on their computer.
Yeah.
Way They don't actually go into the CRM except for the one time a week, before the pipeline review call with their go in and like update stages and amounts and close dates and all that stuff. But they don't actually use it to sell. It's not designed for that anyway.
Yeah, and maybe that's where like I've always believed that if you set it up correctly, like you can coach people to get deals done by having the questions that you know having your discovery questions in there and making sure that you're even just like the little prompts to like move things
Yeah.
along. I found that if you set it up correctly, like you can actually use Salesforce to get deals done, but very few companies do it. It just becomes this repository of data that everybody in the company wants to get out of the sales team.
I mean, the problem with that setup though is like, yeah, that's probably like the best way to set it up, but it's still not a good way because like every deal is different. And I think like sales, especially like sales leaders, like delude themselves into thinking they have like way more control over the sales process than they actually do. Like the buyer holds all the cards basically. And if they say that this is what we have to do to get this deal done, then, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter questions that you have to answer before you can move it to the next stage. Like that deal no longer follows your internal prescribed path. It follows their path, and which is probably better, right? You have to buy,
Oh, absolutely.
and if you have that information, then you should go path to deal closed, right? Not like all these unnecessary like middle steps that are part of your process that like are just going to slow things down, if not like kill the deal entirely.
Yeah, and obviously, like you'd never want to push like, oh, you have to do it my way or the highway. That would be crazy. But if you have some simple reminders in there, like the question I always ask about this stuff is like, is it going to help an average seller on my team get one more deal a year closed? And if it does, then like we're doing something good, right? Because like if you have a big enough team, you're going to have a lot of those average people, and if you can get them to just do one more thing, that helps immensely.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's not untrue. I think like the opportunity cost there though is like how much time do they spend
Yeah.
in this inputting data, trying to follow and understand the process and trying to like fit that to their current situations. And like if they would have spent that time doing something else, would they have closed more than one more deal? Yeah, if they spent that time like prospecting, right? If you like gave
Yeah.
them something like, hey, here's the hot accounts you need
Yeah.
to reach, like would that lead to better results?
Yeah. And I never really um I'm not a big fan of having a ton of fields in a CRM. And I think like that's part of my problem with the current instances of CRM is, it's gotten away from like helping salespeople make their lives easier. And I think that there's ways that you can do that without having a lot of fields. Like just having like simple workflow in your
Yeah.
CRM can go a long way in like making life easier, but nobody likes to implement that. But now, like, what drives me a little bit crazy, and like I've run organizations where I've said, like, look, like you have a quota of 3 fields that you get in the CRM because otherwise, like your marketing team is going to want to have like 40 different fields in there, and your product team is going to want to have 40 fields, and your CS team is going to want to have 40 fields, and like now all of a sudden, like every sales rep, like people bitch and moan about like having to fill in the data in their CRM, but they're not doing it to help them get deals done. They're doing it to make other people's lives easier to
Yeah.
no benefit, which sucks.
Well, they don't do it anyways, right? I mean, but I mean, like
Well,
you
they
bring
don't
up,
do it because it's like it gives them no value. Like there's zero value for
yeah,
a
that's
rep to put in. Does the client want it in blue or not?
yeah, and they're not going to ask that question because it's just a waste of time. It doesn't move the deal
Correct.
finish. And but I mean, like you bring up a good point where it's like there is all this latent demand from these other teams who want insight about it. Like the sales process is like the one place where you're consistently talking and like they're
Right.
directly that they're having. Your internal experts are directly talking to them, telling them, how your product or solution is a salve for what they're having. Then you go into great detail in the specifics of how to get that done, and then ultimately they become a customer, hopefully. But I mean, like those conversations are like, who's privy to those? It's like the sales. It's literally not even the sales team. It's like the salesperson and maybe like the SE or whoever that
Right.
they sales. But even the sales leaders don't know because they're not part of every single call,
Of
right?
course
And then you
not.
say
No.
trying to like nail our messaging down. Who can I talk to for a case study or a quote or like who really like their solution? Like they ask these questions of like sales and CS. I think CS is like like fairly frequently, but like not much to like. these. Early on in the deal they do, or early on, like in an implementation, they talk a lot more with them, and then it becomes like once a quarter. But I mean, like this latent demand, like if you think about it, like where do they get that information from then? Right? Like it's necessary to do their jobs effectively, and they just like don't
Yeah.
have really no way to get it.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't know if there's, first of all, I think like these other departments should be picking up the phone and talking to customers too, right? Like it's not just like, oh, hey, Scott's the sales guy. He's the only person at the company that's allowed to speak to XYZ Corporation. Like,
Yeah.
we can arrange to have other conversations with these people to go get that data. But like, again, it feels a little to me like, oh, let's pawn the work off onto the sales guy to get the data that I need in order to do my job more effectively. And
Yeah.
I agree that it's a team sport, but I also don't think the CRM, I'm happy to help facilitate that conversation. I don't think that having, 20 salespeople ask about like, hey, did the customer ask about XYZ feature? It
Yeah.
just doesn't feel like a great thing. And again, it's not moving the deal forward. So why have it in there?
Yeah, exactly. Like it's never going to be accurate anyways if it's filled out at
Yeah.
all. Um,
So I think like
it's just,
what we're trying to say here is like at one point like CRM was actually a really valuable tool,
yeah,
but we've turned it into this like software by committee design
yeah,
almost, where like everybody gets to put their 2 cents in, and then you're just left with like a bunch of empty fields that nobody's filling out, and it
yeah.
becomes unwieldy.
Well, I think like it just never lived up to the promise of what it was supposed to be, right? I mean, the whole thing is it's it's a CRM. C stands for customer, right? R stands for relationship. Like ironically, like we talked about this last time. It's
Yeah,
super build a report that it shows you all your customers and the products that they own. You
yeah.
know,
That's what. By the way,
you
that's
don't.
what made Goldmine great. Goldmine was fucking awesome. It was perfect. It was a CR. It was truly a CRM.
Mhm. I think like where it all falls flat here is kind of what we've been talking about, where like who puts the data in there. Yeah, like you can have like the
Yeah,
best report tool in the world, but if like the data that it's building these reports and dashboards on like is incomplete or inaccurate, then no one trusts it and it's almost worthless, right?
yeah, exactly. So, if you're if you expect your sales team to fill out that data, like it has to have some value to them too, right?
So what do you do?
Otherwise, like I'm derailing my entire process to what this sponsor doesn't want.
Yeah. I mean, what do you do then? So let's say you're starting the sales team from scratch, right? Like what's your setup? I saw you cut out there a little bit. I don't know if we're having connection issues, but like what's your setup?
Maybe a little bit. I had a phone call come in and it made everything bounce. So sorry, I'm setting up a
Yeah,
team.
you're starting a team from scratch, right? Like what's the process you set up for your sales team?
In the CRM.
Yeah. Or do you use
Like
a CRM?
I want it to be as simple as possible. I want it to be able to capture where are the deals in process. I want it to have some coaching in the CRM to say, hey, salesperson, like at this stage, maybe like here's like the 4 or 5 questions you should ask. Like you don't need to fill in like, tell me why you're buying this and what's the value you're going to get and all of that stuff. But just like have a reminder there that, hey, like on a first call, like here's maybe the 4 or 5 more most important questions you need to ask. On a second call,
Yeah.
here's like the most important questions you need to ask. And like, again, I don't expect them to fill anything out. I mean, for me as a leader, I want to be able to, ultimately accurately forecast my deals and be able to roll up a number to a CEO and say, like, I have 99% confidence that this is what's going to come in because of X. And if you've built the CRM correctly, like you should be pretty confident in being able to get that out. Right. And there's
But
like nuances, like if for example, like, all right, how many of my deals are in legal going into the third month of a quarter? Like to me, like that's an important one that I should know because that allows me to forecast more accurately.
yeah.
But I also set that up as a checkbox. Like, are we in legal or not? Check.
Hmm.
Have we received red lines back? Yes, check. All right, great. Like I can pull a report on that and go, okay, I feel pretty good about these deals because they're at the right stage.
Yeah, I mean, I think like later stage stuff, it's you're probably closer to that, and there's just like fewer of those deals, so like you're going to get accurate data on that.
Yeah.
Early stuff, it's a total mess. But I mean, like one thing I ran into recently, I was trying to procure something for us, and I'd already used this tool, asked multiple different companies
Hmm.
to sign up for their website. So I was like, cool, I'll just go in, I'll sign up. I know how to set this up. I've done it before.
Yeah.
Then blocked with the contact sales button, right? So, God damn it. So I clicked contact sales, filled out the form. 2 days later, somebody got back to me, set up a call, told them right out, I've used this before multiple times. Like, we need 10 seats. Like, just can we get this going? Because I want to implement this right away. Like, it took 2 more weeks and multiple calls. Like,
Yeah,
because
that's
they had
ridiculous.
discovery questions. And I'm like, this is nuts. Like, I told you I want to buy. Like, what are you doing? Like, send me a contract. I will sign
Yeah.
it. And then in the end, like it took 2 weeks to do that, right? Like that. And then this is my problem. Like when you like hard code in a process like that, which is the
Yeah.
best thing with like the way that CRMs work, right? It's like, hey, you can't move it to this stage unless these fields are filled, these discovery questions are filled out, you know?
Yeah.
And then
I would never set up a system like that.
yeah, I know, but you'd be surprised. Almost everybody has a system like that where it's like, here's our 4 discovery questions that you have to ask on the like that's crazy.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that's just like they should have just sent you a contract right out of the gate. Like I'm amazed that you didn't reach out to the CEO or the CRO and just say, like, dude, what the fuck? Like, why can't I just buy this? Like I've used it in the past.
Yeah.
Also, like that's bad CRM. Like they should know Robert Moseley has used this 3 times in the past. Like just
Yes.
let him buy it. Let him buy it. Like like why are we dragging this on?
I mean, so I mean that's the thing, right? Because like C is customer, and I've been a customer multiple times. I should have been in their CRM. That should have popped up
Yeah.
somewhere for somebody when I filled out my thing, right? Or at the very least, when I told them after that first call, then they should have looked that up. But I mean, like, most CRMs aren't set up to do this, right? Like there's
Right.
multiple duplicates. There's not a single contact record. I'm probably also like leads in Salesforce, and like none of it is married together. It's like not even attached to the right account, and there's duplicate accounts. So it's like it's no wonder that they didn't know that because the system just like isn't set up right, and then they never are. Like you can set
Yeah.
it up perfectly in with, and then you like deploy it into the real world, and then marketing is using it one way, and like SDRs are uploading lists, and they don't care about like account associations because they're just building like target contact lists or target lead lists. um, and put this like super hodgepodge of just like relationships of objects and records, starting from like a terrible place, like forgetting even like the data that goes into those individual records, like contacts, accounts, and opportunities, like just like they're not even associated with each other. It's like you can't get that right
Yeah.
from the beginning.
Um, it's interesting. Like we had a really good piece of software, and again, like this gets into sort of our next topic about here. Like if you didn't have a CRM, like we had a great tool at Cloudinary that would follow the person around. So it knew that Robert Moseley had used this 3 times in the past. It knew you changed companies. We had triggers to be able to reach out as soon as like your LinkedIn updated. Like we had the triggers to reach out and go, oh hey Rob, congratulations. By the way, like why don't we give you this first month for free or something like that?
Yeah.
Like, it was that was pretty slick, and I
What's
think
that
like
called?
with enough people, I don't know. I got to look it up.
I can't remember, but I mean basic, right? And I doubt that was even like tied to like the contact record in the CRM. It's just like, hey, this person who you have somewhere in there changed jobs. I mean,
Yeah,
the other talked about this last time. Like that's a strategy that I think like everybody uses now. Oh, user gems. I think that's the tool I'm
is that
thinking.
who it is?
One that used a Cloudinary or not, but yeah, user gems. That's how like they started like just doing that thing, which was like a super useful thing right away. When like if you were the first person to do that,
Oh
or
yeah,
like
it was awesome.
that, it worked really. Everybody starts to do that because you talked about it on LinkedIn for a bunch of likes on there about like how well that worked. Then of course the company that powers that talks about it, and then then that strategy no longer works, right? And this is the same thing that we saw like with like all the SDR type tools where it's like hey, reach out to somebody right when they change jobs, or
Yeah,
use this three this particular sequence really well, and then like everybody does it, and none of it works in the end. A little bit.
Yeah, but I mean, you're right. So I guess like the question that I think we're trying to answer here is like, okay, well, what does if you don't need a CRM, or if you do, like, what does that evolve into, right? Like I feel like people
Yeah,
can do a lot of their work in GTM engine. They can do a lot of it in Gong. They can do a lot of it in all of these different tools that are out there. Like, is there, and I think like this is a biased question, I'm sure, but like, is there a world where there is a single tool that just reps live in and helps them actually get deals done versus I've got this big ass database of stuff that needs to get resolved?
yeah. I mean, I don't think CRMs go away because like they are that big ass database of stuff that connects to different systems, right? And like you're not like if you take on like say like the Salesforce admin role or RevOps role at a company that's even been around for like 10 years, like ripping out the CRM is like that's just a non-starter. It's not going to happen. Like there's too much process that's built into that that like you probably don't even have visibility over that you're not going to do that. But it's not a tool that helps salespeople sell, right? Like
Correct.
I run Salesforce, but it doesn't help salespeople sell, right? So I think you can like maintain that system of record, and you can probably like, and this is our philosophy. It's like, well, how do you clean that data up?
Yeah.
The big problem with CRMs is the fact that people have to put data in, right? I mean, people have they suck at it. We've talked like for 25 minutes about this already. So from that, and then like if you remove them from that, like does like the interface for reps in Salesforce, which is designed around the fact that sales reps use that to do data entry, if they no longer do that, does that interface make any sense whatsoever anymore? Right? It really doesn't. Right. So then
No.
like what does make sense? Like what would actually help a rep sell if they're no longer just like expected to put in field Salesforce to drive reports and dashboards, but instead can like consume a synthesis of all the data that's been collected at the contacts and accounts and opportunities to like actually help them sell and say, hey, this is if you to do anything today on this opportunity, this is what you need to do right now. Right. I think that's what you really want to build toward. And then that's like the if you're gonna have your reps live in any system, it's gotta be that.
Correct. So then that becomes, if you're getting rid of, I'll use Salesforce. If you're getting rid of the front end of Salesforce, can you get away with just using Airtable and Gong and GTM Engine and Clary or Outreach or any of these things?
Yeah.
Like, can you just, build a, because basically what you're saying is like Salesforce just becomes a data store. Well, I don't need to spend $125 per user per month on Airtable or some type of database. I can just have all of these other systems grab out of that,
Yeah.
which then kind of gets rid of the whole. It basically makes your CRM into 7 different tools, and you query the one that you want, and then you kind of get into like the whole talk about agents, and then I
Yeah.
just have like one agent that's helping me with all of these things versus 7 different tools.
Yeah. Well, I mean, agents is a whole separate topic, which is
Absolutely.
just like throw an agent at anything, it just does it like it's magic. But like there's a time and a place for agents, and then there's a time and place for just say like updating CRM data, I think is a good use case for like not having an agent because you want, hey, every time like a call comes in or an email comes in, I want to reliably every single time that happens, update these 50 fields on the opportunity or rethink the current have in those fields. If there's any new
Yeah.
information, have a call or that email that would update our understanding of the data in that field. Like you want that to happen reliably every single time. And like an agent, it's like probabilistic. So it's like you say, hey, here's a new thing, like figure stuff out. It'll get right, look impressive, but it's not like the reliability that you need. So like really what you need standard workflow that has like AI embedded into like a task that's going to occur every single time. But where agents become super useful is like kind of like they're used today as like a co-pilot to like understand that data and the tasks that need to be
Yeah.
done, help the user actually accomplish those tasks like with their feedback in. So it's almost like the opposite of how they're used today, where it's almost like, hey, we should do this. Like, you want to do that? Where it's like prodding the user, the sales rep, where it's like, hey, we need to do these 4 things. Like, do you approve me to do this one? Yep, go do that one. Okay, cool. I'll go do it. All right, that's done. Now let's do this one. You approve me to go. Hey, I need this information. Like, do you happen to have that? Cool, thanks. So it's almost like instead of you having to prompt the agent or the chat bot, like it prompts you. Like it tells you what needs to be done and asks for your opinion as opposed to you saying like, you have to just sit there until you prompt it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and I was thinking about it, like, I like that vision a lot for the seller. I'm thinking of it more for all of the other people who are, that need access to Salesforce, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm in CS, send me the list of all of the companies that are currently on HubSpot that
Yeah.
we need to do integrations with. Oh, okay, like great, like here's my HubSpot integration list that's coming down the pipe. If I'm in product marketing, I need, how many times does the term, blue show up or whatever the hell
Yeah.
it is?
And just
Um,
there's show up and like how does that align to like the use cases that they're talking about or something like that?
yeah, yeah,
But
it's an interesting, it's so interesting about this CRM discussion, Rob, because like it's one of these things that seems like it is both completely useless to the sellers and completely indispensable to everybody else. And there's this like this weird relationship, this weird dynamic that has to happen where the salespeople are like the whole company is so dependent on the salespeople filling out this information that doesn't help the salespeople get any deals done.
yeah. And then they spend all their time doing it instead of actually selling, right?
Right.
Prospecting or like doing all the things that will actually like bring more revenue into the company. And then nobody else gets the data that they need out of it anyways. And like I'm starting to like so like right now, like the value that I see in CRMs, like we use HubSpot internally. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like we create all the records automatically, like our system, GTM engine. We create them, we create the associations, right? So we have like a reliable list of like, hey, here's all of our contacts participating in an active deal cycle, right? They're associated with an opportunity. HubSpot that's just called associations, and Salesforce like will create the opportunity contact role, right? That's really interesting information, right? Now what we do is then we build a list of, hey, here's all the contacts that are actively participating, and here are the things that each individual cares about, talks about, questions they've asked, wow moments that they've had, and then we turn that into content. And marketing has a campaign that's what we call a consideration stream, where it's like for the first 6 weeks of like the opportunity is open, like they're getting a drip of emails from marketing. So it's like instead of like marketing and sales being like completely siloed, like now they're working off the same records, they're working off the same data, they're like able to drive the same goal instead of like marketing driving or sales arguing that like MQLs suck and that's a terrible definition. But marketing needs to like show that they're like doing stuff and like the reports that they present at the end of the year, like whatever quarterly board meeting, like they have to show that they're doing stuff. And then sales, same thing. Then they have like SQLs and they have to show pipeline movement and like all that stuff. But like, should they be siloed? Like, shouldn't everybody like agree on the things that we're tracking, the things that we're using? And like, if marketing wants to track, do they really need permission from sales to track that stuff? Like, if you're tracking just like the raw interaction, like the call are going back and forth, the sales even need to know. Like,
No.
it's data, but I think like going back to like the CRM thing too. I mean, like the limitation that we've hit, especially with Salesforce, we don't hit this with HubSpot because like HubSpot doesn't have these limitations. But um, if marketing wants to track 50 fields, right, that shouldn't be a big deal because sales reps aren't filling that out anymore. And then if product wants to track 50 more fields, customer success has like their 50 fields that they want to track to make sure that like they know how to like implement after the deal closes. Like they can't all have that because the limitations on the number of custom fields that you have in Salesforce,
Right.
right? Trade-off. So it's like, does that, I mean, the integrations ecosystem and like the single like customer record thing could be the CRM, but I'm not even sure if they're like up to that task, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean that starts to get real. It's again, kind of going back to your. I think your point was really about there's a C in customer,
Mhm.
right? And it's like the CRM doesn't really care about the customer in a lot of ways. Like you're not helping the customer by understanding like, what was their value positioning that marketing needs to know so that they can write a new white paper about it. Like that helps the customer zero and it helps the salesperson zero. It's a good data point, super valuable, but is it driving the type of, in a traditional sense, I don't think it's helping at all to get deals done. And to your point, it's wasting salesperson's time. So yes, like the utopia is like, hey, like let's just populate all of these things based on, to what you're talking about, the conversations, the emails, the Slack messages, all the stuff that's going back and forth about a particular deal. All of that then becomes super valuable, but it doesn't distract from moving the deal forward.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Ugh. It's been
Oh, your audio just went to hell in a big way. Say that again.
Sorry, is it better now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. Let me try to like turn off my AirPods. One sec. All right, can you hear me now?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Sound better?
Much better.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, like even like Salesforce in the very beginning is like built around the concept of a lead, right? Where like a lead is an individual. And like that's not like by default, that's not even tied to an account. Right. So like even like from the marketing perspective of like, hey, how many leads do we have at this account? Like you can't even know that. You don't even know. Or like how many people at this account have filled out a form, registered for webinar, we scanned their badge like in the last month. Like I just want to know like what accounts are kind of like showing some, propensity towards us. Right. You can't even do that there. You can't.
Right.
Like it's not like the model isn't set up that way. So then you like start to wonder, it's like, well, how are like what is the future for something? Like I don't think Salesforce will go away, like they're too big, like, but I don't think that it's at all going to be the same in, I don't know, 5-10 years as it is now. Like it just has to look completely different.
I don't think it has to look like anything. I think that's the thing that makes it so exciting is, do they just become the new Oracle? Like, do they just become the database of record for go-to-market activities?
Yeah.
And yeah, there's some fields there, but like you can make the database do anything that you want. And then you've got tools like GTM Engine that sit on top of it that become more of like the front end that the salesperson's using.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's our entire thesis, I think, right?
Yeah.
Is like, that's what it becomes,
And
like
I think that's a good thesis.
Yeah. It seems to be bearing fruit. It's still like we're at this like really like frustrating place where it's like the things that we want to do like aren't always like we have to like work around the limit. Okay, so for instance, like Salesforce, HubSpot, every CRM works around the concept of fields. Like you go in and you fill out a field, and that field can be a checkbox, it can be a drop down, it can be, a date, it can be a number, it can be text, rich text, like whatever, right? But it's all fields. And like if you think about like, is that the best interface for a salesperson? Right. So like we're in this weird spot where it's like that isn't like if I'm a salesperson, I don't just want to look at a page that just has a bunch of fields, right? A bunch of like different pieces of data. That doesn't make sense to me. It's not what I need to sell. But if we're syncing with the CRM, we still have to create data in this like field structure, right? So it's almost like we have to like maintain like, okay, what does a salesperson actually want? They want to know the health. They want to know like how long has it been since they like there's the most recent activity. How many outbound activities have I had since the last inbound activity? So how many times have I reached out to them and they've ignored me since last time they've emailed me? Like that's what managers want to know. They want to know all this stuff, right? Like very, very hard, if not impossible, to build in Salesforce. We build that, but it's impossible to like actually sync that data back to Salesforce in a way that's actually like reportable and you can make coherent dashboards around it.
Do you need to report on that, or can I just say, hey, how many emails have not gotten a response back since we've run the XYZ campaign?
Yeah. I mean, you can. I don't know if like LLMs will accurately answer that question every single time. They'll give you an answer every single time, but
whether it's accurate or not is another discussion.
Yeah, I mean, so I mean, we ran into this problem like previous company of mine. I was at Harvey, like the legal
Yeah.
company.
Yeah.
So legal AI, we'd have lawyers, they'd upload, 50 documents, and they'd say like, hey, give me extract every single mention of XYZ, right? Confidently answer. Like there are 7 mentions, right? Then you
Yeah.
start from scratch and you say, give me every mention of XYZ. Be like, here's the 9 mentions, right? Ask it again. Like, here's the 4 like, so like they're good at giving you a confident answer because that's what they're designed for. But like those sorts
Sure.
of tasks, like they're just like not really. So I don't think like reporting goes away. Like I like the good old reporting and dashboards and structured data and stuff like that. Like I think that becomes even more important. Then
Yeah.
it just becomes like, okay, well, if I have these transcripts and these emails and I want to understand of my entire pool of every conversation I've ever had with any customer, how many times has this competitor come up? For instance, you could ask an LLM that, and they're going to give you an answer. It's not going to be right. But what you really want to do is, well, what are they good at? Like, what if you processed every single one of those and just extracted a list of the
Yeah.
competitors that were mentioned in every single one? And then you have like an array from every single call. Then you can build a report on that and it'll be extremely accurate, right? And I think that's like this middle layer that people are missing. And like that's the problem that like we've tried to solve. Cause like I'm a big believer that like, well, one, like LLMs can create data from unstructured data, but can they you can't skip that middle step because they're not going to give you accurate information.
Right.
If you don't have accurate information, you're going to make bad decisions. You're not going to have like a full understanding, or even worse, you're going to have an incorrect understanding of what's actually going on.
Yep. So how do you do that in a way that is just more conversational tools than form fields, which is that to me would be the best.
Yeah, I think so. I think in the back, like the form fields are like back end things, right?
Yeah.
Like it's stored there, but it's not presented in the UI where it's like, here's a bunch of form fields, you know? Like I don't care about that. But
Right.
you still
And
need,
again,
you
like
still,
and when you say you don't care about it, do you not care about it as a seller? Do you not care about it as a CRO? Do you not care about it as a product manager?
I mean, I
Like,
care about it. I care about it in a reporting interface, right? I
yeah.
want to look at the bar chart or the pie chart or like whatever of the number of times in the last month that competitors A, B, C, and D have been mentioned, right? That's the interface. I don't care about like looking at like an individual opportunity record and seeing the field that has like the multi-select pick list of the competitors that have been mentioned. Yeah, maybe that's interesting. But really what I want to know,
Yeah.
like at the individual like opportunity level, is like, hey, this competitor's been mentioned, and here are the use cases that they said like are primary to them that they care about. Like, how do we position ourselves knowing those are their use cases and these are the competitors, right? That's what I
Yeah.
want to know.
Yeah. And kind of like going back to your earlier question, like how would I have set this up? Like I feel like competition is one of those questions that not most, but like a lot of sellers tend to forget to ask. Right. So like while I
Yeah.
wouldn't necessarily have a competition feel, and maybe it's like a drop down or maybe it's like a little bit of a checkbox, I do want to make sure that people are asking that question. It's an important question
Yeah.
to ask. And so just having like a simple prompt, like who
Yeah.
else are you talking to about this? Like, what else have you looked at to solve this problem? Like, what other initiatives have you taken to figure this out? Like, any one of those questions can like go a long way. I don't necessarily expect the rep to ask it verbatim in the way that I would or what's in the
Yeah.
CRM, but
Well, you also got to
it
ask
should
it
be
at
there
the
to
right
kind of,
time too, right?
yeah,
And I think
100%.
like so this is like the other thing that I really really like about setting up a system this way is like you fill out the fields like you know what you know, but like what's even
Hmm.
more important is like knowing what you don't know, right? Hey, we
Yeah,
haven't asked yet, like are they looking at any other solutions, right?
right.
So what we can do is we can analyze all the data that is available and say, huh, we don't know if they're looking at any other solutions, or like we don't know like when their like budgetary cycle begins. We don't know their procurement process. We don't know, whatever, like what CRM they're using, right? It could be anything. But then we can like prompt the user to say, or the sales rep, like in the meeting prep, hey, you have this meeting coming up on Tuesday. Ask these questions, right?
Yeah,
And then all you have to do is ask those questions, and then that information will automatically be processed and like filled in, right? And then that can drive reports and dashboards, which product marketing is looking at.
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. The one question that I'm still a little unclear on, and like I'm not long on like the traditional CRM that we have today. I think you're right. I think 5 years from now it's going to be radically different. But I do think like there is going to have to be some level of forecast accuracy,
Yeah.
right? Like I am going to need to be able to roll up as a CRO, I'm going to need to be able to roll up a report to my CFO, to my CEO, to be able to say like, hey, this is what I have, this is what I'm confident in, and here's why.
Yeah.
And do
Yep.
you think that in a new, more modern CRM where you've taken these 5, 6, 7 key tools and bolted them onto your database, does it get more accurate, or does it get more accurate, or does it get less accurate?
I mean, it definitely gets more accurate for sure. But
Okay,
I think like every sales leader I talk to is very, very proud of how accurate they are at forecasting, right?
I thought
So
it was only
accurate.
me.
But like everybody, like you talk to them, and I thought like my initial hypothesis is like, hey, we'll analyze all this data and we'll tell them like what's risky and like what's might push out to the following quarter and stuff. And the response I always got is like forecasting is an issue. Like it's very accurate, right?
Yeah,
But then like when I flipped it to, well, how much time do you spend to it? And it's like basically their full-time job. It's not like helping deals close. It's understanding what deals are going to close by badgering like the entire like chain of command from them all the way to the frontline rep of like what's real and what's not real and trying to get an understanding. And then you have like, the frontline rep like putting in like their forecast category, like you commit upside stretch, and then their manager putting their opinion on it, and then their manager, and then like the
yep,
VP, and then that rolls up to the CRO. And it's a big game of telephone. Eventually, like you hone in on the things that are there, but like my God, like that is a lot of work. There's a lot of fuel that's burnt just trying to get an accurate number. And like that shouldn't be the goal of any, like you do need an accurate forecast, of course. But should that be
yeah,
the goal? I mean, the goal should be like your chief revenue officer, your VP of sales. It should be to bring in more revenue, bring in more sales, not understand what's going to come in. There should be like some sort of like command over that versus just like a passive understanding of what's going on.
yeah. That's interesting that so many other VPs you've talked to are like, yeah, forecasting isn't the issue. It does take up a lot of time, and it's like this really interesting like art that you got to throw at it. Like that, we've all had that rep who's like, I don't really have anything, I don't have anything, I don't have anything, and then like magically they're gonna, quarter after quarter they figure out how to make their number.
Yeah.
Um, right. So you kind of have to like the art behind that is you have to weigh that person versus, here's the new guy that hasn't done anything yet. How do I dig in on this?
Yeah.
And part of digging in on those deals is, it's I'm not just like digging in to beat the shit on somebody. I'm digging in to like figure out like what else could we do to help drag this thing over the line.
Yeah. Yeah,
And to
exactly. But
me,
like
like,
on a handful of deals, right? You got to figure out like, okay, well, what's the stuff that's like in stretch that we could possibly do something about? But then
yeah,
like inevitably there's always those things that were in commit that you find out the last day of the quarter aren't actually going to come in, you know?
that fucking kills me, dude. I hate that.
Yeah. And like the rep probably knew for a while, right?
The
And they
rep knew
just like
for,
were
a long while. Like,
yeah.
again,
I
like
mean
if you're
to
like, here we are. For all intents, it's December the 1st, right? If your deals aren't in legal for Q4, they're not happening. Like
yeah.
yeah, you're gonna have like one or two that sort of slide in, and people will prove me wrong. But like for the most part, if your deals aren't in legal yet, like they're not happening in this month.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
exactly.
like, that's an easy one to forecast. Is the deal like, do we have red lines back? Nope. All right. Well, then I'm not going to forecast it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's probably not going to come in. Yeah, I mean
No.
that particular scenario is pretty easy, but I think like things do come up at the end where it's just like, especially Q4, and if you're
Yeah,
on
of
calendar
course.
year, right? You're working against the holidays and all that, and it's very, very hard to get things done and things slip. So like knowing if there is that risk, like if somebody mentioned that they're going on vacation for 2 weeks, it'd be really good to know that, to have that information surface to you as like a risk in the forecast, right?
Well, and again, like this is one of these things that sales reps, like average sales reps, don't ask. Like an
Yeah.
average sales rep is never going to say, "Hey, Rob, like the holidays are around the corner. Like, are you here through the end of the year? Are you taking a week off between Christmas and New Year's? Are you taking 2 weeks off to go skiing, and you're going to be completely out of pocket? Like, how are we
Yeah.
getting this thing signed?" And I think like those are scary questions to ask. And
Yeah.
because people don't like to hear bad news, they're afraid to ask those questions.
Yeah. I mean, a good rep, and I've worked with a bunch of them, a good rep will ask that in like, a nonchalant sort of way at the beginning of the call. It's like, oh, what are you
Yeah, of
guys doing
course.
for Christmas this year? Like, oh yeah, we're going to
Yeah.
Tahoe for a couple of weeks. Cool, cool. And
Yeah.
then
Does your phone work in Tahoe? Like,
yeah, yeah. Are you bringing your computer with you?
does DocuSign work there still? I think it does. Last time I checked.
Yeah, are there any major storms that are expected to knock out
Right.
power for
3 weeks.
yeah.
um.
I
So,
think Jacob
so
brought up, there's a comment on this, like Jacob in the comments here brought up, if your internal understanding of your own deals is being fed back to an LLM, you are going to build better and better forecasting with every one last deal, which is 100% true, right?
yes, correct.
That's the whole point, right? That should all, like all the stuff that you're extracting and all the reports, like, you can boil that down to, what are those risks, right? And then what is a likely close date given all the information we know? Because I mean, like, how do you do that really? Like, if somebody does mention that they're like going out for 2 weeks, does that actually change your close date? Do you change that? Do you, or
I
do you just
mean,
understand that that's a risk? Does the whole team understand that that's a risk? Can you get ahead of that now? Like, well, if you're going to be out the last 2 weeks of the year, shit, we should probably get this signed by December 15th then. We
yeah,
got like 3 weeks to get that done then. Okay, let's get all hands on board. It looks like,
yeah.
procurement was in security
Yeah.
review. Let's,
Is that even feasible? Like,
yeah,
and do you want to make that happen? Like,
yeah,
because if they're like, you know what, I don't like whether it signs in, like, because most people don't care if they sign in January 5th or versus
yeah,
December 25th. It
yeah,
makes zero difference to the client. So the clients, jamming something through at the end of the year is basically doing you a favor. Like, unless they have like a really critical, like,
yeah,
like for what GTM engine sells, like, they're going to want to have that up and running by sales kickoff. Well, sales kickoff typically happens, you know, first, like the third week of January, between the third week of January and the second week of February.
yep,
Okay, like how long does it take to get up and running? Well, it takes about 4 weeks to get that up and running. Okay, so like if you want to have it by the 15th of January, then you're going to have it, you have to sign a contract by December the 25th. Like we're
yeah.
December 1st now. Like, can you do that?
Yeah, and like while you're
And then
out,
just
we'll get everything set up and backfilled for you, and then you can come back from vacation. You'll have like all this stuff, humming.
yeah,
Yeah, that would be a great way to
we
answer
can
that
kick it
question,
off.
right?
We
Because I
we
mean, they
can kick it
also know
off. We can
like,
do a training, sales kickoff. We'll fly out. We'll support you. We'll walk, hand walk your people through it, like all that kind of stuff. Like,
see, that's I love that sort of answer versus what the typical answer is. It's like, well, if you sign now, we'll give you a 25% discount. Because they know damn well that you're going to give them that same discount on January 5th. Like those
oh, dude.
like threats of like this special pricing is going to go away if you don't do this right now.
So early on in my career, I took the pricing away from somebody, and man, like it fucked that deal up. It cost me like fifty
Yeah, I was
thousand
gonna
dollars
say
in
to that.
commission. It did not work the way that I
Lesson
had
learned.
planned.
Yeah. Well, once that cat's out of the bag too, like you can't put that cat back in the bag. If you
Right.
dangled this 25% discount, it's like, well, you offered me this 25% discount. I'm gonna not like, no way. If you're willing to do it, then you're gonna be willing to do
Yeah.
it now.
Well, I was like, hey, you promised you were going to sign it by the end of the month, and the end of the month came and went. So like, just like you don't live up to your promises, I'm not going to live up to my promise.
Yeah. I
And like
mean,
it derailed the whole relationship. I don't recommend that strategy.
yeah. So for everybody listening, don't do that. Well, I think like don't give the discounts like unless it's absolutely necessary to like truly get the business done, anyways.
Yeah, and you shouldn't
Like,
you shouldn't have to do that. Like if you've done a good job of like establishing value up front, like you shouldn't have to sell your soul to get something signed by a particular time.
yeah, agreed.
Right?
I
Because if
mean,
you tell me like, oh, it's going to make $1 million a month for me, like
yeah,
there's no discount on this. It's $250,000. You're going to make $1 million a month. Like go rock and roll.
yeah,
I should
exactly.
double my price.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see what they say then. Well, I mean, so we always talk about like the sales equation, like what the revenue equals, basically the number of opportunities in your pipeline times the average deal size times like your conversion rate divided by, your throughput or how long it takes you to close the deal, your
Yeah.
average deal cycle. And like a big one that I think people ignore is like that average order value, right? Like if you're constantly giving discounts to try to get things over the line, like you're gonna have to close more deals to get to your number. So
Yeah.
that's one thing that like our system is like very like focused on coaching on, right? how do you get this done without dropping your pants? Because that matters. And I think it's like directly aligned to like, this could be like a topic for next time, because I know we're like running low on time, but just like commission strategies and like how do you actually align commission with what's good for the business? Because I think like those incentives are oftentimes misaligned, and like you'll see things like this. Like one perfect example, I think like I don't want to pick on them too much, but like at Cloudinary, right, where it's like if I'm a rep and I don't get paid on upsells, right, I'm going to try to get the most out of it that I can on the first close, right? And so if I could have closed a $24,000 deal today and then grow that over the next 6 months, but I don't get paid on the growth, or I could try to close it for 75K today, but I'm half as likely to close it. Like still the math works out that I'm going to increase the price to 75,000 and take, the half, 50% cut on conversion rate. Because in the end, I make more money. Now the company loses money because they don't get the growth on those other deals. But
well, and it's even a double loss because they don't get the growth on the other deals. And what happened was we were overselling clients. We would convince, hey, how many, what's your growth look like? And we would convince that they should buy for their growth too. And nobody ever hits their growth targets. And as a result, like, we might have oversold them by 50%. So now like I've gotten a big commission check, yay me, but like, there's no growth upside for the client, and they're starting to churn a year later because they've bought way too much stuff. So
consumption-based pricing, that could be a whole other topic too. Like that is so hard to figure out. Like there's so much risk there where it's like, I didn't buy enough, I bought too much. Those are both bad scenarios, really, really bad scenarios. But
I like the idea of doing commission. So where do we end up on CRM? Like,
I don't know.
I think like while I am, if you ask me in 10 years, what does CRM look like? Like, I think it doesn't exist. But in the short term, like, I think it's one of those things that's probably not going away. We've been using it for a long time. But I do think like more and more tools like what you and the team at GTM Engine have built will continue to evolve and make like me logging into Salesforce less necessary. And these tools will help me get more deals done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like foundational. It's like, do they actually represent an accurate understanding of who your customers are, who your leads are, who your contacts are, what products they own, where your upsells are, stuff like that. What's your churn risk? When is renewal coming up? Like, if the answer to that is no, like, okay, well, which it is in almost every single implementation I've ever seen, if not every single implementation I've ever seen. Like, you can't build an accurate list of this stuff. Okay, so then you need something to fill that out. Like, I think like they're not going away right away, but I don't think that they exist in their current form at all in like 5 to 10 years. And it's like they're it's like the next evolution, and it's something that like AI like does open up. Just like removing the single roadblock to that entire pattern is just like you rely on humans to create data, and humans are fallible. They're not incentivized to do it accurately, and it's not their job. And so you end up with garbage. So, I mean, like, does that system actually make sense anymore? Short term, yes. Long term, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Cool. We did it.
Cool. All right. Let's talk about commissions next time. That'll be fun.
Yeah. Awesome. Appreciate it again, Scott. And thanks everybody.
All right, Rob. Always a good time. Thank you, everybody. Cheers.
Bye now.